Hi, I'm Christina, and this is my video response. I'd like to start off by addressing this class as a whole. As an entirety, it's been extremely beneficial and rewarding. Being a white person, a woman, and an American, I was definitely put in some uncomfortable positions at times. However, I have no complaints on this matter. In fact, it's what I really enjoyed the most about this course. I'm part of the dominant population group here in the United States. I've been privileged enough not to have to face many obstacles and barriers to get to where I am today. However, that's not the case for all Americans. We learn about African Americans, Latinos, and Native Americans in our history textbooks and lecture halls, but we never really dig deeper to hear and learn about the perspective from present-day Americans who come from those backgrounds. That's where this course comes into play. It allowed for me to gain newfound knowledge and, more importantly, more passion for equality within our nation. As a future educator, I'd like to take that passion and apply equality of diversity within my classroom. Something that I think can be related to all of the novels, movies, discussions, and poems that we've read would be the idea of staying true to oneself in a nation that is constantly trying to change who you are. I'd like to address this from the Native American perspective and readings that we've touched on these last couple weeks, and also how I, as a future educator, can make sure that students of all cultures feel welcome in my classroom. I'll start by discussing the novel Ceremony. A big piece that I took from this novel was the relationship, or the lack thereof, between the whites and the Native Americans. For most of the characters in the novel, the first time the Native Americans had any contact with the whites was when they started school. Who would have thought? The Native Americans found that the teachers and most of the students were all white. The teachers basically told the Native American students that their ideas and values that they've grown up with their entire life in their Native American society are completely invalid and wrong. The teachers then took their views on topics like science and nature and animals and taught those to the students and those only. This ultimately caused the Native Americans to want to steer clear from the values and traditions that they've grown up with their entire life and instead adapt to the ways of the white Americans. Now, as I was reading this novel, I couldn't help but ask myself, how can I make sure that this doesn't happen in my future classroom? It's crucial to learn about all different backgrounds and cultures in the classroom, and I firmly believe that. It builds respect for myself as a teacher from the students from these different cultures, but it also allows the students to drop the stereotypes and discriminations they might have previously had against one another. When you're young, that's when you start to build all these ideas about each other. Not each other, but about all the different cultures out there. So why not start at a young age to teach these children all the different cultures so that when they grow up, they're more open to accepting them? A way that I feel I can incorporate this into my classroom would be by always addressing the alternative viewpoints to lessons that I'm teaching. For instance, in Ceremony, the teachers only taught about their views on science and nature and the views that the school required them to teach. However, if I knew that there were Native Americans in my classroom, not only would I discuss what's required of me on those topics, but I would also discuss the Native American views on those topics. It would be really fun to do a compare and contrast on the different viewpoints from many different cultures. And also, it shows the students that, oh, hey, they actually have a little bit of respect for my culture, and it's not totally invalid, that it's a cool thing, and my friends and my peers and classmates are enjoying learning about it too. Next, I'd like to discuss Wendy Rose and her collection of poems in Going to War with All of My Relations. They all touched on Wendy's experience as a Native American growing up in a white world. One poem in particular caught my attention. It's titled The Well-Intended Question. In this poem, Wendy is asked what her Indian name is. Rather than giving a response of a name, she touches on where it comes from, her culture. I think many people, especially young people, are curious on what other cultures are like. That's why I feel the title, The Well-Intended Question, is so accurate. A lot of times people might find others being ignorant by saying, hey, what's your Indian name? But a lot of times, more often than not, They're just curious. They want to learn about these other cultures. I think an awesome way to incorporate Wendy's poems into my classroom would be to specifically even focus on this poem, The Well-Intended Question. You could do a whole week on this particular poem. You could start off the week by reading the poem, and then, since it's elementary school kids, kind of depicting it and summarizing it in a way that you think that they would understand. Then you can have the week have throughout the entire week the students are researching their own cultures and their backgrounds and where they come from, which incorporates social studies, and then you can use poetry, language arts, and have them turn their research into a poem. And then on Friday, each student can read their poem that addresses what is your cultural name. That way, all of the class is learning about all of their peers and different backgrounds and where they come from, and it's just a great way to get kids excited about learning about these different cultures. And sometimes you might not even realize that the person sitting next to you isn't just a white American. They have a lot more to them. They might be Irish or Scottish or Norwegian. There's all these different fun things you can learn. I'll end by saying I've really enjoyed this classroom. I think it's really opened my eyes and my classmates' eyes to so many things that we should be learning about. We learn about different cultures in our textbooks and history lessons, but by reading from these women writers, we feel their pain, their emotion, and their strive for acceptance of their own culture without having to convert to a different culture. It's one thing to say that you're going to go out there and strive for equality, but it's another thing to actually do it. And I really hope that in the future with my classroom, I can create equality. Thank you.